working musket, you can actually go to the Purísima Mission YouTube channel. We have a very cool video of us firing our musket. So that is our musket there, one of the main lines of defense. Oh, and one other thing too. I get asked this question too. If they had bayonets at the mission, and they did. This is a bayonet right here. We do have these at the mission. That's a common question. These fit right on top of the muskets, and after they fired the muskets, they ran out of gunpowder, ran out of bullets. They would use this. This is very sharp right here. It's almost like a sword, and they would use this at the mission as well. So they did have these at the mission. So this is just another extent on the musket here. So pretty cool though. All right. So we got the shields and the cueras to protect them. We got the muskets, the escopetas. Well, what about las espadas? What is an espada? ¿Qué significa una espada? Well, if you said this here was an espada, you got it right. A sword. This is a typical sword that they had at the missions. This right here. So this is a sword, and espada. A soldier would all have one of these at the mission as well. Each would have that. That's part of their standard issue. So we have our espadas, the swords. I'm going to put that back in my case right here. But that is another line of defense. Okay, now let's say a soldier, they're riding their horse, right? Okay, because they're excellent at riding their horse. But could they reload their muskets while riding on a horse? What do you think? Well, no. Soldiers, they could only fire their musket one time while riding on a horse. But we do have these. This is una lanza, or a lance. You can see it has the colors of the Spanish flag. This is what they used on the horse. They would use this as another line of defense. They're very excellent horsemen. They could use this lance while riding on horseback into battle with about 60 pounds of equipment. So a typical soldier would use this, and you can see how tall it is here. I'm about 5'8", 5'8" tall, and you can see how tall this lance really is. Watch as we look up. Are you ready? These lances are anywhere between about 7 to 8, sometimes even 9 feet tall. So this was just standard issue at a mission. These lances, or the lances. So we'll go ahead and place that back there. So, okay, so we talked a little bit about the weapons behind the soldiers, which is really cool, one of my favorite pieces of the soldados at the mission. And so the soldiers, when they were here at the mission, they had to follow some military rules. We're going to go ahead and we're going to walk over here. We have these barrels, too. What do you think could be in these barrels? That's right. If you said that this was... Sure, you got it right. They had gunpowder in these barrels here. But the missions are very inequipped with their weapons that they had. Sometimes had very few bullets or very little metal to make bullets and very few gunpowder. But this here, this is el reglamentos militares, or the military regulations that the soldiers had to follow in Alta California. And this was set out by El Presidio de Santa Barbara, the Presidio of Santa Barbara. That is a military fortress. The Santa Barbara Presidio supplied soldiers like La Purísima. And so they were responsible for maintaining soldiers at 5 missions. Mission Santa Barbara, Mission San Inés, La Purísima, San Buenaventura, and San Fernando Rey. Those were the missions that they supplied soldiers for. And they would put out orders that los soldados de cuera had to follow, that their weapons had to be clean and in order, and that they had to be ready to fight when needed. And these were put out by a commander. Yep. El Capitán José de la Guerra y Noriega. He was the commander of the Presidio in Santa Barbara, and he was the head soldier of the area. But we call him the comandante, or the commander. So those are some things that they would have to follow. Now the soldiers, too, at the mission, life was really rough. Most of the soldiers came to California from Mexico. Some even came up from Spain. And it was a rough life in California. A lot of soldiers didn't want to be here. It's a lot of work all across the board for all people who lived here at the mission. And life wasn't really ideal. These missions weren't very a nice place to live. The soldiers generally weren't very friendly people. And so the soldiers, too, they worked at these missions, right? And so how much do you think a soldier would get paid? Well, a typical soldier, like myself, would get paid about 1 peso a day. Yep. The corporal or the cabo at the mission, he got paid about 1.5 pesos a day. And so, but the missions, they didn't have money to pay people. They barely had enough money to survive, enough resources to survive. That what they did is they didn't sometimes pay the soldiers for 6 months to a year. And even then, they still owed them money, or they paid them with goods, like paying them with tobacco or chocolates. Those were some of the common things that they paid them with. So a lot of soldiers ended up going back down to Mexico with their families as soon as they could. But if a soldier lived at a mission for 10 years, I want you to think how old a lot of you are. So 10 years, you could get a land grant. That was a way of colonizing California. Another way that Spain intended to colonize. Remember, about colonization. They wanted land. They wanted to take land and establish these missions and ranchos as well. So they did that in California by giving them land grants. Now, I want to talk a little bit, too, about the money and the currency. So we're going to go over here this way. And we're going to zoom in on this table here. Here we are. I have my little plate here, but I have something in the plates. What do you think could be on the inside of those? Any ideas? Well, let's go ahead and let's find out. I'm going to open this up. No way! I'm rich, aren't I? How cool! What are these? What do we think? If you said these were coins, you got them right. These are coins. This is a real, or a peso, un peso. We call these los reales, or los pesos de ocho, pieces of 8. And so that's because they would cut their coins. Do you cut our coins? You go and purchase things? So if you have a quarter, do you cut it into 5 pieces to have 5 nickels? Well, I know I don't do that, but here at the mission, that is what they did. The soldiers did with their money. This would have been all made from silver. And so, if you cut it in half, this would be a half of a peso. This would be 4 reales, 4 reales, or 4 reals. So you can see it's cut in half. Look at the difference between the two. Cut it in half. Now, if we cut it into half again, we'd have a quarter. So that would mean that that was a quarter of a peso. So we have half and a quarter and a full. So that's how they did their money and their currency during mission times. So a lot of these coins were made down in Mexico or in South America. Now, look at this coin. Doesn't this coin look a lot different? It does, right? It has like this blob here and a little mark on it, doesn't it? Does this coin here have a mark and a blob on it? Right, it doesn't. Well, what the soldiers would do is, over time, this would wear out. Imagine having these coins in their pocket, and they would lose value because they would weigh these to make sure people didn't make fake ones. Because they made fake currency back in mission times, too. So if they had fake money, or they would think it was fake if it lost its weight. So what they would do is they would add weight to it. They would just hammer it in, and then they would just look at that. And that mark tells us that it wouldn't be like a fake coin, that it was real, that someone did that. That was whoever did that. That was their design or their mark. I'm sure you're probably wondering too, well, you have gold coins, don't you? Well, these gold coins are called doblas, las doblas, and they're double the amount of this silver coin. These are more valuable. These typically wouldn't have been used at the missions. Sometimes they probably were, but mainly in California, we see them using a lot of these silver coins like this here. And one other thing I wanted to mention too. Look at these ones. All right, let's have a look at these. What do you notice about them? Is there anything that's similar or different to what this one is? Well, look at the shape. Yeah, look at these. These ones here, this is struck by a hammer. We call these cobs. These are other coins that the soldiers would have used. So these are cobs. So those just mean that they're put by a hammer versus by using a form like this. Pretty cool, huh? But those are our coins. Now, I do want to share with you one other coin that I have, and this is my coin that I have personally. Let me get it out here. Here it is. This here, this was a real coin. Yep, this is a real peso. Yep, this was in California in mission time. Pretty cool, isn't it? And so this here, what year was it made in? 1798. That's when this coin was made. Yep. And then if we turn it over to the back, and this is made from silver.
He's giving me a headache.
Look, you can see the Spanish crest on there. And if we look closely, we're going to see this design right here. Look there, you can see an M with like a 0 or a circle on top. That tells us the exact place where this coin was made. This was made at a mine in Mexico City. Yep, in the year 1798. Pretty cool, isn't it? So that's where this was made, 1798, at a silver mine down there. And so, if you look too, do you see that hole in there? Look, it goes all the way through. Well, what that hole did is the soldiers, they would wear these as necklaces. Do you put holes in your money and wear them as a necklace? Well, the soldiers at the mission, they put holes in them and they used them as necklaces as well. That is what they did, so they didn't lose their currency because this was so valuable to them. The soldiers really didn't have a lot of money at these missions. So that's a little bit about their currency. One of my other favorite things to talk about when we talk about the economy at the mission. One of my favorites. All right, well, one other thing that I wanted to share with you too. Sure, we've been talking about these soldiers all day long. And so I wanted to share something else that's personal too. Is that my ancestors lived here at Purísima Mission 200 years ago. Yep, my ancestors were made up different groups of the mission population. And one of those groups were the soldiers, the soldados. at this mission, La Purísima Mission, my ancestors were soldiers. They came up from Mexico during mission time. They came up here. They came up from Baja and Laredo. They came up from there. And they settled up here at La Purísima Mission. They happened to be soldados here. And they would have lived in this very cuartel, these barracks that we're looking at. And this is where they would have lived at the mission. And they also were at the Presidio in Santa Barbara. And my family was one of the founding families of Santa Barbara. So here at this mission is something that's pretty special to me, as I'm able to connect with my ancestors and the people who lived here in the past, such as the soldiers or the soldados at the mission. My ancestors were even some of the first people that come to California or the first Spanish people to come to California. They came in 1769 on the Portola expedition, other Junipero Serra. They were soldiers on that expedition, the first land expedition to survey California. So that's a part of California history. That's a part of me, part of who I am. So I'm really happy to be able to share this with you all today.